All right, welcome to the Retro Game Club Podcast, Season 4, Episode 6, which is also Episode 117. I am Rob, and joining me is someone who just released his Classics collection, Hugh.
Yeah, that's right. 42 games, none of them finished. Actually, I could probably do that. If I could get my old Apple II discs to work, I could probably release a whole pile of unfinished bad games.
And just put them in Unity, so it's like a gig.
Yeah, right. So each game is a gig.
Yeah.
Yeah, each thing that was maybe 10K originally. I guess I could also release like all the unfinished demos that I started when I was trying to like learn Visual Basic, which is not a good game development language. I'm just going to throw that out there.
Mm-hmm.
I only have like one finished demo ever, and I'm actually hoping I get another one this year.
Really? Another one for the Genesis?
Yeah, well, it's another Genesis one, yeah, although it's probably going to lead... Here's I don't like to get all like grandiose about like what my plans are because they never pan out. But like I was working on it, and for this other demo idea I have, I need like 20 songs.
Mm-hmm.
And I have no musical background, which makes getting 20 songs hard.
Mm-hmm.
Getting like public domain music or music from like game bundles, like we purchase like game asset bundles,
Mm-hmm.
like that's pretty easy, except you can't really play those on Genesis. So I'm like, man, maybe I should just take this idea and do it on a CD system instead.
Yeah, do Sega
or
CD.
Maybe not for the Genesis.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, I have to figure out how to do. Yeah, Sega CD was a little bit of work, but then I can use like actual music and not spend a bunch of time creating really awful chip tunes that make you want to tear your ears out. Yeah. They're not long. I don't want to go like. Yeah. So I don't want to go too much into detail about it, but like the songs, I need like 20 songs that are basically like 30-second loops. They don't have to be very long.
Mm-hmm.
The way it works. Yeah, so what have you been up to?
Oh man, a lot. I beat Horizon Forbidden West. I highly recommend it. I loved that game. I side quest the heck out of it. Then I bounced to once I finished that, I went to Godzilla for PS4. Have you ever played that game?
No, I played one Godzilla game in my life and was not a fan.
Yeah, well, this one is actually pretty fun. It's by Bandai, and you could definitely tell it's by Bandai. It's very arcadey, but it is really fun and gratifying. The problem is like with everything going on in the world, I kind of didn't want a game with a ton of explosions and stuff. So I got out my 3DS and I've been playing some DS and 3DS games. So Jumbo Safari, have you ever played that?
I haven't even heard of that.
Okay, it's an arcade game and Wii and DS, and you just drive around in a safari type setting, and you lasso wild animals that are sick, so you could bring them back and heal them. It's very it's very Sega, it's very Sega Crazy Taxi type feel. So a little bit of that, and then a lot of Ever Oasis. Do you know that game?
No.
It's a very random one.
I know none of the games you played this week.
Yeah, so I've been playing a lot of Ever Oasis. It's so calming. I can't recommend this game enough. It's a very cute party building, city building, action role-playing game by Nintendo. It's the same team that ported the 3D games to 3DS. It's very well done. I highly recommend it. You could choose your own name in it, and you can actually make a pretty long name. I chose a very inappropriate name, and I definitely suggest doing that because they use your name all the time, and it just makes me laugh all the time. So I am like a child in that way. What else? I picked up that Final Fantasy Origin Strangers of Paradise. I haven't played it yet. It's apparently a Final Fantasy 1 kind of remake, sort of.
Okay.
So
not to be confused with the Final Fantasy 1 remake that they released on like Android and stuff this week, right?
No, totally different. Totally different. So it's kind of a remake, retelling, but with from a different point of view. I think I'm explaining this and I haven't even touched it. This is like from 2 sentences I've read about it, but I've heard mixed reviews. I think I'll like it. We'll see. Oh, what else? This last thing I have going on. Have you ever ordered a game through GameStop.com?
Yeah, I did once, and it became an immediate never again.
What happened?
The game they sent me was mangled beyond recognition.
Yes. So I found 2 pretty rare PS4 games on GameStop.com. So I ordered them. I actually found 3. One of them was flawless. The other one came in a GameStop case, like the equivalent of a Blockbuster case.
Yep.
And
yes,
the other,
I can show you the one I have for the game that doesn't work.
Well, the other one literally had dog bite marks in it. I'm not like making an exaggeration or something. Like I know what dog bites look like, and a dog was gnawing on this case.
I mean, it could have been coyote or
yes,
small wolf.
Yeah, some kind of canine. And so I contacted them just saying like, hey, for what I paid, this is not the deal. So far, so good with that. They said like, hey, you could keep those. We're going to send you new ones. New meaning different. And I said like, don't bother if it's not like a nice case and all that stuff. And so that was like 3 weeks ago. And yesterday or the day before, I wrote them just saying like, hey, just checking in, making sure you're not going to go out of business before this transaction is done. Mm-hmm. And he just said like, no, actually, there's just a shortage of those games. Apparently they're a bit rare. So the second they come into any store, there's like an alert out there that they'll be sent directly to you. So I thought that was kind of cool. I'll keep you guys in the loop to let you know how all that ends up.
I haven't checked how GameStop stock is doing right now.
It can't be doing good. I think they lost like 300 million or something.
Wait.
They're pivoting into NFTs.
Oh, that's a scam.
Yeah, whenever a company says
they're
we're
not
pivoting into NFTs, it means we're in big trouble.
Yeah, because of stock manipulation, they're still at $90 a share.
That is crazy. And funny.
Meme stock GameStop racks up a big loss again. So this is from a couple days ago. It's from March 20th. Oh, it's from today. Wow. Let me read this article. It's from Fool.com. So yeah, their stock is still really, really high. Their results weakened in the last quarter, whatever that means.
It means they lost 300 million.
Well, they've lost 400 million for the year.
That's just crazy. Yeah. How do you do that?
All right.
You'd have to try really hard to lose that much money.
Well, you think about how many stores, like they have so many locations, right?
Mm-hmm.
And all those things, they cost rent. And there's not much profit in hardware. So they have to sell games. I mean, games is where all their profit comes from. This is from my own experience in the game store business. And you just don't make money selling hardware. So, yeah, I can see you losing money really quickly. If people are using you to buy PS5 and then ordering PS5 games from Amazon or just downloading them like a normal person, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm the oddball that I still buy physical games.
Yeah,
I realize
me too.
That.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't see how they make money. In like the collectibles business, I don't know. How much do you buy collectibles? Like, I buy maybe one or two Zelda things a year. Certainly not enough to keep a GameStop in business.
Yeah. It's I think the writing is on the wall with them, unless their NFTs are just amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But so sorry, that was kind of a lot. What have you been up to?
So I think we're going to talk about this later, so maybe I'll skip it. But I just posted another catalog scan from like exactly 20 years ago.
Nice.
But maybe we'll talk about that later. Did you talk about the TMNT collection?
No. What are your thoughts on this?
So I'm actually kind of excited about this. You were like the first person I thought of when I saw it. I'm like, oh yeah, Rob's going to buy that.
Well,
and then I started looking at it. And,
Oh, no, sorry. Yeah, I'm definitely going to buy it.
Yeah.
And it's because I always talk about, like, I have all of these ROMs. I could play them for free. But, you know, my motto is if I can buy it, I will. I'm not just collecting ROMs to pirate or something, you know. So I will give them my money. But sorry, go on.
Now here's the interesting thing. I don't think there's a lot of arcade games on it. Well, it says there's 2 arcade games. So I'm on the Konami website. They say it has TMNT and Turtles in Time arcade versions. But then it has all the like home versions. I actually like the home versions better for the most part. You know, the arcade games are just designed to like suck quarters out of your pocket.
Yes.
And the console versions, they don't really have to care about like taking more money from you. So I find a lot of them to actually be more fun.
Mm-hmm.
And even like the Game Boy games, it has all the Game Boy games. Like those are actually pretty good.
Yeah. I mean,
so I'm gonna look for a pre-order for this. See if I can see there's a physical release. I don't know yet.
I thought there was. If not, this seems like something Limited Run would do.
Well, Pac-Man Museum Plus just got a physical release on Amazon because I just pre-ordered it.
Ooh, nice.
So that's like a real, you know, I'm thinking this is probably too big for limited run games. Yeah, Pac-Man Museum Plus for Nintendo Switch. Release date May 27th, 2022, $29.99. 14 games included.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm waiting for that. What else have I got going on here? I saw that McDonald's has Mario Kart Happy Meal toys.
Yeah, we got a few.
Yeah, they're the exact same ones they made like 10 years ago.
Really?
Yeah, because I went to look, and I'm like, oh, I have this exact set already.
That's awesome.
So that's, yeah, I don't know if they just, I can't imagine they like spun up a new reprint. They probably just, I don't know, maybe they made a lot of them a while ago.
Oh, sorry, yeah, it's probably for Mario Kart 8 just had a DLC drop this week. So it's probably for that. And Mario Kart 8 is about 10 years old. So there you go.
Yeah. I mean, I was only looking because I heard something about Sonic 2 Happy Meal toys.
Oh.
Which I think is coming later this year. And I don't have... those are definitely... The pictures that leaked of those are different than previous Sonic Happy Meal toys, it looks like. Because I don't have any of these.
Okay, that's good to know. Yeah, the movie comes out, I think, on April 7th. So that would be coming up.
Okay, yeah. And is that it? Oh, yeah. So the other thing was I was watching... I don't know if you watch Angry Video Game Nerd. But he recently did a game called Last Ninja on the NES. Mm-hmm. And I was pretty impressed. Like, that is the best looking bad Nintendo game I think I've seen.
Yes.
That was about it for me, man. Let's we got a couple news articles and then some fun stuff here.
Yeah. What do we got? Oh yeah, this first one, probably my least favorite one of the week. A while ago there was a rumored handheld GameCube, and finally someone built one. And just talked about how stupid it was for there to be a handheld GameCube because the GameCube uses so much power and the Wii is GameCube backwards compatible and it uses a fraction of the power. So what they created actually uses a Wii board and it looks nice. Oh, nice little project there.
I thought the portable Wii was called the Switch.
Pretty much.
Like, everything gets ported to the Switch now, so like, handheld GameCube seems neat, but I think eventually we'll just get, like, Wind Waker on the Switch, and then it's totally unnecessary.
Exactly, yeah. Those few games are the last holdouts, but yeah. Yeah, little neat-looking box. Oh, yeah, and then speaking of the Switch, we have another news item, Vita 2 HOS, which is Horizon OS, which I guess that's what Nintendo Switch's OS is called?
Sure.
So this natively runs Vita games on the Switch because the Switch has an updated processor that the Vita used, and I guess isn't that much different. So this is not emulation. This is more like what Proton does.
Okay.
But
Well, are they both ultimately like some sort of Linux fork?
that I don't know. I just know the hardware are just ARM variants.
Yeah, I mean the description of Horizon OS is partially Unix-like environment based on the Nintendo 3DS OS, based on FreeBSD and Android. You could probably go and just look at their open source disclosure and get a pretty good feel for what it is.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, Proton is Wine and Windows isn't, Linux. So it's just doing that translation. Even though all Switch programs are 64-bit, the processor still supports 32-bit. So there you go, I guess. Mm-hmm. You would probably be better at looking this code than I would. That's for sure.
Yeah. I'm not doing that though.
Yes. Yes. You're not going to start contributing.
No. Well, this project will get taken down, so it doesn't matter.
Yes.
Let's see, there's a note about a Mortal Kombat hack for Sega Genesis. This is actually a little bit old. I think this came out in December. Might have come out when we were doing like a little winter break, and it's a pretty decent hack. The video in this article is not. Is this the right video? Yeah. So it's basically replacing a lot of the sprites in the Mortal Kombat for Sega Genesis with ones that look much more like the arcade. Mm-hmm. Overall, it's a pretty good hack.
Yeah, it fixes a few other things too, but I can't really find them. But
yeah, it makes the game play a little bit more like the arcade. Like overall, I think it's good. I like the project. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I'm sort of struggling. Like, why would you do this instead of just playing the arcade version? But I understand the intellectual curiosity of wanting to build something like this.
Yeah, like could a better version have been released for Genesis? I think is what they were trying to tackle.
Yeah, and that's always the case when you don't like everything could be done better if you didn't have a timeline.
Yeah, and a budget. Yeah, exactly. I mean, E.T. could have been the best game ever.
It could have been an okay game, yeah. All right. Something about a long-lost Nintendo 64 prototype that is now out. This is on Hard for Games, right? Are they the ones talking about this? Yes.
Yeah, it's a game that never came over here. I guess it was only released in Europe. A Carnival Senzo's Adventure. I have no idea if I pronounced that correctly. But
okay.
Yeah, definitely go to Hard for Games channel. You could link to it from our show notes. Great guys, and yeah, cool thing they got there.
But, yeah, they're one of the only YouTube channels I follow. It's them, Angry Video Game Nerd, obviously, and then the guy in Finland with the hydraulic press.
Nice. So last week we had a story item that was gone by the time we recorded, which left us confused while recording, and Zach happened to find it this week. So it's a Apple II game. Is it called Witchcraft?
No, Witch
Trial,
I believe.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so what do you have to do in this? You have to you kind of go on side quests in order to not get burned at the stake or something like that.
Yeah.
Very strange. It definitely looks very Apple II. Looks like ASCII art. But if you're interested in that stuff, please check out the show notes. I think my favorite story this week on Indie Retro News, Tachyon Dreams 2. It's a new Sierra Online type text adventure game. It looks like it was built in AGI, and I mean, it looks like a Roberta Williams type project. I definitely want to download this. It looks like it's a free download, and it looks really, looks like it has really good art. I haven't looked at the video yet, though, but very intriguing.
Yeah, it's a name your own price on Twitch.
Nice. And
for all I know, this is in that bundle of like 8 million games that they put out recently.
Yeah. But 30 to 45 minutes to play through. So not too bad. It sounds like it's not as brutal as a Sierra Online game, but definitely look for that. Yeah. It's been a while, but we have some Doom running on things, right?
Yeah, this is Doom running on basically the Raspberry Pi Pico. It's not running on the Raspberry Pi Pico. It's running on the thing that the Raspberry Pi Pico runs.
It's so strange. On 2 meg of RAM, right?
Yeah. Again, it's still more than when you played. I mean, the original system requirements for Doom were only, probably were only 1 meg of RAM.
Oh no, this is 2 meg of space. So what they had to do is compress the assets on the fly. So really, this is a showcase of very efficient compression and decompression. Okay.
Yeah, or you just have to make the game a lot shorter, like they did on the 32X, right? You just have many fewer levels.
Yeah.
This is why we got to get Doom for the Sega CD 32X.
Yes. Finally have a proper port. And that's news.
It's news, yeah.
This week, we're doing a little magazine read of Electronic Gaming Monthly from March 1995.
Yeah, I should probably open that up right now.
Yeah, and I think we spent, I don't know about you, but I spent a lot of time flipping through this magazine, so...
yeah, I read through it twice, yeah. I mean, there are some articles I skipped, but some that I looked at a couple times.
And this is linked in our show notes, so if any listener wants to hit pause and open this up, please do.
I think if we do another one of these, and I'm sure we will, we should probably tell people a week ahead of time.
True. That's probably a good idea. That would consider forethought and all that stuff.
Yeah. This was a last-minute idea, though.
So where were you in March 95?
March 95, I was working at the video game store and doing next to nothing with my life.
So you had probably flipped through this magazine a few times back then.
It was probably in a plastic bag. I think EGM came in plastic bags.
Oh, probably a good idea.
I think they did. Like, GamePro didn't, Die Hard Game Fan didn't, but EGM almost always came in a plastic bag. And I was not a huge EGM fan at the time because I thought they printed a lot of stuff that turned out not to be true, which we will come across.
That's definitely true. Yes.
Right. They were almost like the 4chan of game magazines in some ways. And I like Die Hard Game Fan better.
Die Hard was great. I liked EGM for the same reason I like Die Hard is they tended to, not in this issue, but years previous to this, they would actually cover TurboGrafx, and a lot of the others didn't.
They would, yeah. Now, EGM probably caused me more stress at work than any other magazine, just from people like, hey, I read in EGM that Street Fighter 4 is coming out to Sega Genesis today. And I'd be like, yeah, that's not a thing. And then they'd like scream at me that I'm a liar or worse.
Yeah.
So it was pretty common actually to have someone chew you out because you were contradicting a rumor in EGM.
Yeah, and you just worked at a store. You didn't work at the actual company, so.
Right. As though there's anything I could do about this. True.
Yeah. Well, where do you want to start in here? Anything you want to focus on?
Well, I noted down a few things that are kind of cool about this. Like, in general, you have to kind of get your head into the space of early 1995. Like, this is 2 months before the Saturn came out, and 6 to 7 months before the PlayStation came out. Mm-hmm. So this is like kind of peak 16-bit and 16-bit add-on time. And the number of systems being sold in stores was nuts. And I look at the cover of this magazine, like, it covers, on the cover, it just lists, like, what systems they cover, and it says Super Nintendo, Genesis, 32X, Sega CD, Saturn, Neo Geo, 3DO, PlayStation, CDI, Jaguar, Game Boy, Game Gear, Arcade. And those are all systems. I mean, at our store, we didn't sell Neo Geo or CDI, and we didn't sell arcade games, of course, but like everything else. By the end of 1995, you could walk in and buy every one of those systems I just named.
Yeah.
It was just a lot of that, you know. And the 32X and Sega CD still were being marketed like they were viable systems. Like these would be a good investment. And I think the Jaguar seemed pretty dead, at least if you worked in a store, but it was still being pushed a lot. Like Atari was still trying to actually get that thing out. So that's like kind of the immediate thing that stands out for me is just, you know, how much this is like the actual time period.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of strange, yeah, because we're kind of sort of dealing with the same thing now where, you know, you have the PS4, the PS4 Plus, and the PS5 all being marketed almost as one thing. Same with all the Xbox brands, and now PC is getting into it with the Steam Deck. You know, I'm sure that's going to kick off, you know, 30 other copycats, which is probably a good thing. And your Atari VCSs of the world. So it's really, and also the Switch being ancient hardware, but no one seems to really care, which is fine. We're kind of reliving that same period right now, I think, for different reasons.
Yeah, a little bit. I don't know if the VCS is necessarily a competitor here, but
No.
What we do have is we have a lot of different PC marketplaces. Because in addition to Steam, you have, you know,
Epic, Microsoft.
Epic, that's it. Yeah, Epic and the Google thing.
And GOG and Humble Bundle are their own real deals,
Yeah.
not just coupons, you know.
Yeah, the one thing is like Microsoft kills off their systems pretty quickly, so there's not like there's just whatever the latest Microsoft system is. And Nintendo is basically down to just one system at this point, which is different for them. Right?
True,
so when I listed everything out here, there are two Nintendo systems, right? There's a console and a handheld system, and Nintendo's just like, we're only doing one system now.
And when did the Game Boy Color come out?
It's noted somewhere, it was more like 98, 99. This magazine talks about the Game Boy with colored shells, which is not Game Boy Color.
That was Game Boy Pocket, right?
Yeah, I can't remember. I have to find the article in here if they called it Pocket or not. It's just basically an article called like Game Boy now coming in multiple colors.
Yeah.
Which Sega then used as a, you know, as a marketing tool against Nintendo.
So I'm trying to find some specific pages here.
Well, so in the beginning, like the letter from the editor, they do a lot of speculation on the Saturn release date because it hadn't been set yet. And so that I found that interesting. Because right now they're basically saying the Saturn, which is now called the Saturn. I forgot that it didn't have an official name. They're saying July 11th. Whereas, like, EGM says July 11th. Sega is still just sort of vaguely saying late summer. And, of course, neither were right. It had a surprise launch in May. And then there's a lot of, like, again, like, these bad rumors. Mortal Kombat 3 will be the pack-in for the PlayStation.
That was never... Like, even back then, if someone were to tell me that, I would say that's never going to be a thing.
It's never going to happen.
Ultra 64, they said was going to sell for $259, which it did not. It sold for, what, 200 plus... It had no games, so you ended up spending
I think it was $199 with nothing.
Yeah.
In the letters to the editor here, or letter of the month, someone writes in talking about how he got his buddy, who's a game developer, to make a custom Game Boy cartridge for his wife that included a marriage proposal. So I guess it was not his wife yet. Did you read that?
Yes. Yeah.
They print both, like his name and his future wife's full name are both listed in there. I don't think it worked out because actually Zach looked into them, and they both have LinkedIn profiles today, but they're in like completely different cities.
Oh no.
Could be one of them works remotely, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Could be. They don't either seem to have Facebook pages.
I mean,
Or if they did, they're not public.
That's probably a good thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And then there was a letter I wrote down that I thought was interesting. Where is it? Oh, it's someone complaining about there not being RPGs on the 32X. So it's page 22. Someone lamenting the lack of RPGs on the 32X, and please tell us there are RPGs coming. And EGM, to my story, usually the EGM response would be, well, we know for a fact that Phantasy Star 5 is coming out tomorrow. But no, they actually look at a list of upcoming 32X games, and there are no RPGs. It is really one of the worst systems for RPGs.
Yeah.
Tied with, like, the Jaguar.
Which is unfortunate. I mean, 32X is kind of, it seems like it'd be built for it, but whatever. I learned in this that NBA Jam was on the Game Gear. I had no idea that was a thing.
Yeah. I think I own it.
Rise Star is in here a few times. I'm doing some scrolling here because I'm going from a 2-page view to a 1-page view. So when you say a page number, I'll actually be able to go to it. When Rise Star came out, had they just said, like, this is a Sonic game without Sonic, and arguably better, it's made by a lot of the same people, that's all they had to say. It would have sold so much more. But I don't think they mentioned that really anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I think at the time I didn't know it was by the Sonic team.
Yeah, I assumed it was just people trying to rip Sonic off a little bit.
Yeah.
You know? What else here? We both wanted to talk about Quarterman.
Oh God, yeah, Quarterman. That is definitely the 4chan of its time. Like, this is just insane rumors. And the fact that he calls himself Q-Man actually makes it worse.
Yeah, like, he's just a writer and that's his handle, right?
Maybe he's someone with a secret level of video game security clearance.
And he calls himself Q-Man. And he refers to himself by the third person, I think. Unless it's someone else writing there. No, he signs his own article, so he does refer to himself by the third person.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, so the Q-Man section is, it's just bad. I don't know any other way to put it. So you want to talk about some of the rumors?
Yes, let's get specific here.
Like everything. Yeah. I will read this one. In other Ultra N64 news, the Q hears that LucasArts, in conjunction with Nintendo and Sculptured Software, is working on an Ultra 64 Star Wars game that takes place 20 years after the originally trilogy's timeline. I'm reading this verbatim. The play mechanics are rumored to be a combination of Rebel Assault and TIE Fighter. Yours truly has also discovered that they're trying to get Mark Hamill to play an older Luke Skywalker and use compressed full-motion video in the game.
I mean, that would have been better than the new movies.
Yes. It also, nothing close to this ever happened.
No, I mean, Shadows of the Empire has Rebel Assault like levels. I mean, that's a stretch, but like the Hoth level, but I mean, I think he just heard a rumor that they were making a Star Wars game, and then he just filled in the blanks with nonsense.
Yeah, that's a very generous interpretation of what's happening. Yeah. And the other rumor that is just like, what? The Q-Man hears... Sorry, I can't do this. The Q-Man hears that they are working on a new fighting game for the Jag with Atari. The project is being headed up by Ho Sung Pak, the man who played Liu Kang in Mortal Kombat 2, and Dr. Philip Ahn, who played Shang Tsung. Note, neither of them are game developers. Also along for the ride is the actress that played the part of Katana. The game should hit stores later this year. This did not happen. He does describe a game for the Jaguar that would be the game Fight for Life, I believe.
Okay, I'm not familiar with that one, but you could have said any Jaguar game, and I would have said that.
Fight for Life is a Virtual Fighter ripoff for the Jaguar. He basically says there's a Virtual Fighter-like game being developed for the Jaguar. And that came out in like late 95 or maybe early 96. And it is one of the 10 worst games I've ever played. Like, it's just mechanically a very bad fighter game. It's like slower than Toshinden. You know, Virtual Fighter was at least fast-paced. Like, this is very, very slow. And I don't think there's any music. Or if there is music, it's bad and very forgettable. And your characters have, like, the amount of damage it takes to knock your opponent out, like, win a match. Like, each match takes, like, 10 minutes because, like, I mean, you can kick your opponent straight in the head, like, 40 or 50 times, like, in a row. And their life bar has gone down, like, a quarter.
Oh, man.
It's unbelievably bad.
That
It's believably bad because it's a Jaguar game. But it's a really, like, how did this, like, they obviously wanted to get it out before some deadline, and it's just terrible.
a 3D fighter on the Jaguar controllers does not seem ideal either.
Yeah, that didn't help either.
You have the Pippin written down too. There's a whole Pippin article, right?
Yeah. What happens when Apple tries to make a game system? I've played a Pippin. It's okay, but it's like when you realize it came out the same time as the PlayStation, you see right away why it failed.
I mean, the specs are pretty cool. It was definitely. I mean, they made so many mistakes with it, but if you just read in a magazine, now another thing you noted too is like, this is right before Apple was making their comeback. You know, this is right before the clear iMac was, you know,
the iMac,
and all that, and people started caring about them again. I mean, I think this is around the time where Microsoft had to purchase a large chunk of them just to make it so they weren't that anti-competitive.
Yeah. And the hardware, like they say the price is going to be between $300 and $500. The actual price was, I believe, much closer to $500 than it was to $300. So it's like $200 more than the PlayStation.
Yeah, just insane. Well, this is let's say I'm looking at the specs right now: 66 megahertz, a 603 PowerPC chip, with whatever graphics card, S video out, VGA out, 640 by 40. So you're getting HD resolution there. And 6 megabytes. So, I mean, it sounds like a good system, but I mean, so does the CDI. You know what I mean? So does the 3DO, which both, again, are nice systems. It's just, it's software that sells a system, and it just didn't have it.
Now, you were impressed by the Bird controller that's like on the next page.
Let me,
Did you put a note about the Bird controller?
let's see.
It's 2 pages down after.
That's right. Yeah, it looks exactly like. So it's called the Bird, right? And it looks exactly like the Oculus Rift controllers, which people. I mean, I have one, and those feel good, and people tend to like. So it's funny that this thing is such a mess.
I think it looks like the scanners at the Home Depot self-checkout.
Yes, it does. The scanners where you're like, why are you making me touch a thing during a pandemic that I've seen all these other people touch? You mean those scanners? Yes.
Those scanners, yeah.
Never seen one of these in the wild, though.
No, I don't know if this actually was even released. But below it is the thing about the color Game Boys, which I don't see the word pocket anywhere in the article.
Yeah, so that must have been right after this.
Yeah, or they rebranded it. You know,
True.
This is a preview. Everything in EGM is a lie. So.
Oh, good point. I forgot about that.
You just have to move past it. Video Jukebox VJ. So this is a vaporware product that there's an ad for. And I looked this up a little bit because I was super curious. It's just a game. It's a multi-game cart thing for the Sega Genesis. And the ad has a dude who has 6 Sega Genesis games embedded in his forehead, like he was at a Genesis factory explosion.
So to explain this, to reword what you said for our listeners, it's almost like those multi-CD changers from the 90s, except for your Genesis games.
Mm-hmm.
And how many does it hold again?
6, I believe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6.
So you can daisy chain up to, I think, 9 of them together, I want to say. It could be 7. No, it's more than 7. And then, the last one just connects to your Genesis into, with a cartridge as a cable going to these things. So and the whole point of this is to, like, get rid of clutter. Could you imagine having, like, 9 of these stacked on top of each other? And
Right. It's not clutter at all. Or
just having one of them, but more than 6 games. Like, it's just, it's a solution in search of a problem, for sure.
Yeah. They say it's going to be sold at Venture, though. Did you have Venture stores in your area?
Definitely not. No.
Yeah. I don't know how widespread Venture was. They were a Chicago store.
But did you watch this video I put up here? They also,
I don't think I did.
Okay, well
maybe I did.
Half of the video is the same company made the an off-brand one of these just for kiosks, and so a few stores had these in their kiosks, but they would have had to purchase them separately. So they're a collector's dream, I guess. If you're just trying to collect everything Genesis, this is definitely a unicorn for a lot of people, and there's a few videos out there where people have these. So,
okay.
Very strange.
I do not want one. If you get up to page 94, they have a preview of the Virtual Boy. The screenshots are awful. I don't know how you possibly can photograph a Virtual Boy in 1995. They seem pretty high on it.
Yeah, I mean, it must have really impressed them because they definitely saw this in person, and I guess it played full motion video on it because they have some fish here kind of swimming around. But, I mean, these, how would you describe these pictures? I mean, I know it's just red and black, but it's almost like sonar.
I would describe it as like special effects from an early Doctor Who episode.
Yes.
So, because it's EGM, they mentioned that Virtual Boy will be getting a remake of the original Mario game.
Wow. I mean, where do they... It's like they just make stuff up.
Yeah, that's what they do.
So it says it'll sell for around 200. Do you remember how much it went for?
I thought maybe it was 250. Let me look. I could look it up later, but I have it in a catalog somewhere, I'm sure. Right around there, yeah. I thought it was 250 and it included a pack-in game. It included Red Alert.
Okay.
Red Alarm? Red Alert or Red Alarm? A game with a title remarkably similar to that as the pack-in.
My only Virtual Boy... I always want to say Virtual Boy. My only Virtual Boy experience was at a Toys R Us display. And I put my face up to it, played it for a few minutes, and said, now I had a headache and like someone else's sweat on my face.
Yeah, so you now have HPV.
Yeah. Yes, now I get cold sores. So I like it was not a good experience. So I'm still kind of bitter at that.
Do I have anything else here? Let's see. I'm personally impressed by the Mortal Kombat for 32X ad. I just want to note that I thought it's cool looking. Mm-hmm. And then there's a lot, like, in the review section, as it goes on. I kind of skim past, like, all the sports games reviews. Say I'm a bad person for that. But I think you noticed there's Star Fox 2,
3
which of course
pages.
was unreleased.
3
Yeah.
pages.
Yeah, unreleased until just recently.
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool to see. And then there's like a lot of 32X and Sega CD coverage in here.
Which is pretty cool. I mean, it's something I wanted and I didn't have until it was an old thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't think.
Yeah, they do Knuckles Chaotix. They got Mortal Kombat 2 for 32X in here. I want to say one of the Lunar games I thought I saw, or maybe I dreamed that. Some Jaguar games, which Pinball Fantasies on Jaguar. I'm starting to wonder if that was vaporware now. If that didn't come out. Tempo for Game Gear. That's kind of a weird one, too, because that's not a game that should have been on Game Gear.
And Itchy and Scratchy, a game I have not played, but looks pretty interesting. Have you played that one?
Yeah, it's like a worse Lemmings.
Okay.
Or am I thinking of Krusty Super Fun House?
I don't know.
Or are they both? Oh, now I'm getting. Which one am I thinking of? How would you know? I don't know. I think the only good Simpsons game is Hit and Run.
That is a fantastic game.
I don't think there's been another Simpsons game I actually enjoyed.
Batman and Robin, a pretty fine game.
And then at the end, you get to all the sketchy mail order stores.
Oh wait, Echo Junior. Is that a thing?
That's a thing, yeah.
That came
That's
out?
a real game.
Okay.
Yeah. I believe that was a paper box game. Okay.
So, yeah, what you mentioned, the ads in the back.
Yeah.
So I definitely had this magazine. I've probably read it 100 times because it was like, the internet of its day, and I would memorize the price charts in the back. I would, fantasize about ordering, the Japanese games that no one ever got and see how much my games were worth. And I just love the ads in the back of these, the small font list of games with what they'll pay to buy them off you and what they'll sell them to you for. I just love that stuff.
Yeah. I like all the bad typos too.
Like, well, it's too small for me to see on my screen. Are there any good ones?
Well, one of them's right in their subject line. Your number one source of American and Japanese video games, spelled YOU''RE.
Yeah, you are.
As in, you are the number one source of games. Not us, you. Yeah, the prices, I'm not... What I'd like to see in these, and I don't see any this time, is where like someone will be selling like super rare Nintendo games for like $1. And unfortunately, I didn't see that this time.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
They'll be like, oh, stadium events, who wants that?
Yeah. That's funny.
Yeah, but that's not in here, unfortunately. These are, there's some cheap games, but they're not things that turned out to be, to be worth anything. And then a lot of import. A whole lot of people selling like PCFX or PC Engine imports in here.
Yeah, which back then I was like, who is buying this stuff? I wish it was me, but it was probably people older than me at the time that could actually afford it. Maybe they worked in Japan for a month and have seen them before and wanted them. I don't know. Sorry, what were you going to say?
I was just reading like the process of selling your cartridges to some of these people is pretty long.
And then at the very end, we have Quarterman's cheat sheet. Let's do a quick Google.
Great.
EGM Quarterman. And man is MANN for our listeners.
It's 2 N's, yeah. 2 N's.
Real name. Nothing popping out there. Yeah, nothing's really popping out. I can't find Quarterman's real name. His identity is still secret. But anything else we missed in this that we wanted to talk about?
No, I think I covered everything that was in my notes.
Let's see. Yeah. So, we didn't really flip page by page through this one, but it's kind of more fun just to read it ahead of time and then, and just talk over the craziness of it. All right. Well, want to do some game club?
Yeah, yeah.
Mine's up there first. I'll go for my strange game first. So I did Another World, which is also called The Outer Worlds. And when was this from? This is from, 1991, originally coded for the Amiga and the Atari ST by Eric. I'm going to pronounce his last name wrong, probably. Chahi? Is that right? I don't know. This game really impressed me in terms of its just graphics and what it does for how small it is. I think it fit on a floppy or two back in the day, and this is a game that has, every screen has a different beautiful background. It's full motion. It almost looks like it's animated, but it's not. It's vector graphics, which it's hard to explain vector graphics. I had experience of it from my BBS days as something called rip graphics, but I don't know. Is there like a modern program that people use that's vector now? I guess Adobe Acrobat partially is. But anyway, he coded this in his own engine after he saw a port of Dragon's Lair, and he couldn't believe it still had motion. I'm using air quotes, video. So you play Lester, who's a scientist, I think a physicist that works at like a CERN type particle acceleration place. And while you run an experiment drinking some Coca-Cola or whatever, it gets hit by lightning, by a thunderstorm, and somehow you're transported away into this another world. And there are vicious beasts and pretty much everything kills you. And what I think is unique about this game is that it doesn't tell you what to do at all. It starts out with you falling into water, and if you don't immediately hit up, you're dead. And it doesn't tell you controls or anything like that. If you don't have many games that you're looking to play, I could see definitely not getting frustrated with this game and just trying to get ahead. You maybe die 5 times on a screen, but finally you get ahead of that and you have it memorized. It's very a Dragon Slayer type feel to it. I think it feels a little bit better than that. You're going to die a million times. And I do think games like Detroit Become Human and stuff like that definitely owe this game a lot. Definitely a lot of analogs there. But I didn't make it that far just because I didn't have too much time to spend on it. What version did I do? I wanted to do the Sega CD version, but I couldn't find it anywhere. It must not have come out in America. So I did the regular Genesis. What's that?
No, it came out in America.
It did?
It's a very rare game, but it was out. It came out, yeah.
Okay. Well, I just did the normal Genesis cartridge one, and it looked great. It sounded great. I wanted to play a few different ports of it. Everyone knows me. Take a drink. The Apple II GS port I definitely wanted to play. But you can get it on modern systems like PS4, PS3, 3DS, Microsoft Windows, Linux, all that stuff. So pretty much every console too, even like Game Boy Advance. So I would recommend trying this out. If you start getting frustrated, just stop playing it. But a lot of very coveted games like Eco, Metal Gear Solid, and a handful of others really cite this game as an inspiration. So what do you think of this one?
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of it. I mean, I have played it. It basically goes like what would happen if I was actually transported to an alien planet.
Instant death.
Instant death, yeah. Yeah, I first saw it on the Amiga. It was like a store demo. And yeah, it looks great. And I would say the graphical style still doesn't look outdated today. I don't like Prince of Persia or Blackthorn or Flashback either. It's just not a style of game I play a lot. Mm-hmm. I did watch the speed run of it, which is honestly doesn't make me want to play it more because it just looks super difficult. Did you see anything about the sequel?
No, no.
So the sequel was a Sega CD exclusive. Maybe you couldn't find it because like the game wasn't called. It was called like Heart of the Alien, and it was the first game and the sequel on the same disc.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
And the sequel, the original developer wasn't involved. He basically just said, "Yeah, you can make a sequel. Go ahead." Right.
Mm-hmm.
And it's bizarre. Your spoiler alert, your guy Lester does not make it. Like one of the last missions of the game is like you going to cremate his body.
Huh.
You play as the alien in the second game. Sorry. Probably should have clarified that. That would have made it a lot easier to understand. Because when I watched the speedrun of Out of This World, like Lester's already in pretty bad shape at the end of that game.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think both of his legs are broken, and he's just like, you have to like crawl and get to some switch to do something, and then you fly away on a dragon. And the second game picks up sort of after that, and Lester's not really doing very good, and eventually you have to cremate him. And it's actually quite gory. The graphics, the scene for that is pretty bad.
Is it the same type of like vector graphics?
Yeah, it's the same engine. It looks like.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, would not recommend, but if you can find a copy, maybe you'd like it. I don't know.
Yeah. I'm trying to see what was the reception on this one. It sold 1 million copies in the 90s, and people scored it really well. But again, if you don't have that many games to play, just like a Sierra Online game, like those could get wildly frustrating too. But if you have the time, you're gonna play it. So, yeah, let's hop over to your game.
I went with any version of Street Fighter 2, and mostly this because I saw Street Fighter 6 being announced. And it's hard. Like I could spend a whole lot of time talking about Street Fighter 2. It wasn't a game like that I originally got into. Like first time I saw it, I was like, oh, whatever. But then after I got into Mortal Kombat, I decided to go back and try a few other one-on-one fighters, and got into it. I would say it's probably maybe second to Mortal Kombat 2 in terms of my favorite one-on-one fighters. I usually play as Ken. I understand that Guile is the character that like pros in quotes use. I think what's neat about Street Fighter 2, I think the thing it does better than like the Mortal Kombat games is that there's really a huge difference in how each of the characters play. Mortal Kombat 2, like at the end of the day, Scorpion and Sub-Zero mechanically are the same character. Right? I know their special moves are a little bit different, but like everything else about them is identical. In Street Fighter 2, like there's just not, other than Ken and Ryo, right? The characters are pretty different. And if you want to play as a fast character, a slow character, or whatever kind of special moves you like using, there's a character in Street Fighter that works for you. So I played the 32X. There's no 32X version. The 3DO version. And the 3DO version is a very good port. You do need to get like a Super Nintendo controller adapter for it. Because then you can use like an actual 6-button joystick. I won't say that version is arcade perfect, but it's really, really good. And I also have like the PC version, but I don't play that one very often. I remember that it looks great, but doesn't play all that well. And what else I note here? Oh, so the other one I played quite a bit is the PC Engine on Virtual Console.
Cool.
So back when Virtual Console was new, they put out that one of the first PC Engine games they put out was the unreleased in the US Street Fighter 2 port. And it's not as good as the Super Nintendo or Genesis versions, but it's a pretty good effort. I thought it was a pretty good port.
It's not far off.
It's not very far. And it probably would have been a big hit if it happened to have been released in the US. But by the time it came out, so if it came out in like 94 or something, or even 93, like the TurboGrafx was dead in the US by 1992.
Yeah, had it come out for the Duo, it would have been it may have moved a few more systems if they had some CD music or something in there, maybe.
Maybe, yeah. Yeah, but it was too far gone at that point. The really important thing, though, is while you're talking about Out of This World, I looked it up, and Quarterman was not a real person. According to an article on PlayerOnePodcast.com, they apparently interviewed a former employee of EGM, and the spoiler alert is that there was no Quarterman. It was an assignment they gave to the lowest ranking person at EGM at the time.
Wow.
Or maybe that's what they want you to believe.
Yes.
So which Street Fighter 2 did you play?
So I have a Street Fighter 2 Capcom cabinet right behind me that I, it's the white one there that only you could see, none of our listeners could see. That was a real Street Fighter 2 that was a real Street Fighter 2 cab that it was in rough shape that I brought back to life, and I got I think pretty rare now, a very Alibaba-esque Capcom 18-in-1 PC board for it. And it has most the Street Fighter 2 versions on it. And I played Super Street Fighter 2. And I tried... I usually play as Ryu or Chun-Li. I tried Guile for a little bit this time. And Blanca, actually. I enjoyed playing for the first time ever. We had my son's 6-year birthday here very recently, and I am not good at Street Fighter at all. All my friends are better than me at it, but I was just schooling these dads, these normies. So that felt pretty good. But I think that's a cool port because it has, a cool revision. Because it just has, all those characters. If I'm correct, it has the hyper fighting speed to it. The great intro, the very blue Ryu intro, is very iconic to me. Did you ever play? And you may have and not even known it, the Rainbow Edition of Street Fighter in the arcades.
Well, yeah, I may not have known it. There was definitely one arcade that I went to that had a hacked version of Street Fighter 2.
It was probably Rainbow.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I was going to explain to our listeners what that is, but you summed it up in one word. It's a hack port where...
Yeah, it's a hack, because I remember you could do, special moves in the air.
Yep.
Like, Ken and Ryo were basically invincible, because, you could jump and, shoot a fireball in the air.
Yeah, and then come down and shoot a fireball, and there's nothing the other person could do. Because there's 2 fireballs coming at them.
Yeah, it was a very broken version.
I had one of those for a little bit. It was one of my first boards I got that, I was just like, I'll use this PC board for testing. And I think, like many arcade cabinet collectors, when they first start doing it, they do something stupid like I did, which is plug it in backwards. And those things are... not forgiving at all, and when you put 5 volts through something that wants 0 volts, it doesn't work ever again. So I couldn't even sell that broken board for $5 after that. But so which home console do you think you like playing it on the best? Did you say Super Nintendo?
No, 3DO.
3DO, okay.
Yeah, with the Super Nintendo controller.
Okay.
Now it's a bad one for playing 2 players. Because 3DO has 1 controller port.
And then 1 controller port in each controller. So one person would have to use the 3DO controller, I guess. Could you do that?
Yeah, it's awful. It's a bad experience. I would just not do it. But I also don't really like hanging out with people. So I very rarely am playing. I'm not inviting people over to play Street Fighter 2 very often.
I remember when 3DO came out, someone I worked with had one. And when I saw that's how you played 2-player, I remember thinking, this is a good idea, because, I'm sitting next to you anyway. It's better than it going all the way that way. And then after a while of it being like that, that's not a good experience.
No, it's not. It's a very bad one.
What do you want to play next?
I'm going to play Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers, because I saw some news article about Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers this week.
Nice. That's one I watched a lot of speedrunners play. That's a good game.
Yeah. What are you going with?
I'm going to go with Eastbook 1 and 2 on any system. There are many, many ports. We have had East 3 before on here. We've had an East episode on here before. So East 1 and 2 are pretty much one game. East 1 is kind of like the best intro of any game ever. So, yeah, please, if any of our listeners play Chippendale Rescue Rangers, Eastbook 1 and 2, Street Fighter 2, Another World, if you are a Q-Man, what else did we cover? If you like the 3DO controllers, please email us. Email at retrogameclub.net. That is email at retrogameclub.net. We always have social media questions of the week that Zach puts up. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, probably other stuff we don't know about. That's all in our show notes. And we do have, I think we have one listener feedback this week and quite a bit of social feedback.
Yeah. Majors writes in to talk about Satanic Panic in Dungeon Explorer. That's the part. That's the good stuff. He missed the obvious reference to Satan in Dungeon Explorer the first time he played it.
Nice.
And at the finally after beating the game, he finally had like a facepalm moment when he realized it. Yes. Favorite Street Fighter 2 version, Super Turbo. It still has a very active scene and is featured in many tournaments. And it has a very large character roster. Also a big fan of Street Fighter 2 Championship Edition on PC Engine, which you mentioned. And he also played Another World on a kiosk. So this was at a Software Etc. store in the 90s. Does he say what computer it's on? Could have been, I mean, I'm going to gamble that it's Amiga, but it could have been the 2GS. And he says it still looks great today, and just call out the Amiga version as being one that still looks awesome.
Mm-hmm. And
I guess on social media we asked about your favorite shooters, and he talks about Super Cobra in the arcade. He, as a young kid, was sometimes dragged to a college where one of his parents worked, and they had a game room. So the game room, sounds like the game room may have been his babysitter some days. And yeah, he would go there and play, various games, and that was the one that's kind of stood out. Sounds like Super Cobra. And then later on, heavily got into R-Type.
Love R-Type. I've never played Super Cobra. Have you played that one?
Probably, but a lot of them blend together. I think this has been I think the cabinet's been a like Midwest Gaming Classic. I typically, if I'm spending money, I usually don't go towards the shooters, but on a free play, place, I will try all of them.
Speaking of Midwest Gaming Classic, is that happening before our next episode?
I hope not, because
I think it's coming up, isn't it?
It's last week in April.
Oh, okay. We got a few more episodes. Well, our listeners, please, if you're in the Midwest, go to Midwest Gaming Classic.
Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna April 20. Stupid scrolling. April 29th through May 1st.
Cool. Yeah, go to that. Thank you, Majors. We got some social feedback about your favorite Street Fighter 2 variant. Someone writes in, playing in middle school at the local 7-Eleven, some Street Fighter Turbo. And what else? Super Street Fighter 2 on Genesis. The differences between the SNES port and the arcade original are pretty clear now, but when you're 12 years old and you don't have them right next to each other, someone says, it seems like you had the arcade at home there,
Yeah.
What else here? Street Fighter 30th edition. Isn't that that's the one that's on Switch and stuff, right?
Yeah, I think it's the collection, right?
Yeah, I need to pick that up, but yeah, he calls out the Alpha series, which I love as well. I really like Alpha 3, even though again, I am horrible at it. I don't know the difference between the isms at all. And Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo for someone else. All the combinations a combination of all the previous Street Fighter variants. Someone writes in about Another World. The SNES version of Another World had music that he really loved back then, And really what a game back then and still today. So some people do enjoy it.
Yeah, the SNES version, you got to go. I know you're a big fan of Berger Becky's work. I believe she did the port for the Super Nintendo version of Out of This World, and I think there's some crazy stories because the company that was publishing it kept changing, like downgrading the cart specs. So like she had a working solution, and they're like, "Yeah, no, we don't want to pay for that," and then had to go with another approach. Like, "Yeah, it's still too expensive. You know, we want this on like the most basic Super Nintendo cart, no extras."
Oh man!
Like she might have, like it might have been like originally planned to be like a Super FX game.
Oh, and they're like, "No, we're not paying for that chip."
Yeah, and then it came out to like cart size because there's like different cartridge sizes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Talking about memory, and like they wanted to use like the absolute cheapest one.
The joys of being a programmer.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Thank you all so much for writing in. Please keep writing in. We love when you do. We love butchering your emails and your social media responses. Again, that is email@retrogameclub.net. And as usual, thanks to Zach for doing everything he does. And yeah, that's Eastbook 1 and 2 on any system. Maybe try something weird. Maybe don't do TurboGrafx. Just do something strange, a PSP or something. And Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers on NES.
Yeah. I have not played that in many years, so I'm actually kind of excited about that.
Yeah, I think you'll enjoy it. I think that wraps it up.
Yeah, so thanks for listening.
Yeah, thanks.